Hey everybody, welcome to Down Ballot Roundup in partnership with Leave No Dem Behind, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and I'm here today with Mike Coverdale, who is running for the Washington House of Representatives to represent the 19th District, Position 1. Mike, it's great to have you today. How you doing?
Good. Great to be here. Thanks for tuning in with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why don't we start by telling me a little bit about you?
Okay. I'm from Westport, Washington. It's a little fishing town on the coast of about 2,500 people, very small town. And I grew up here. My dad and grandpa ran a diesel repair business. My mom worked at school. And when I graduated from high school, I got accepted into the Army to fly helicopters in their warrant officer program. So I got to fly helicopters all around the country for about a decade. And I ended up flying at a hospital after I got out of the Army. I was flying at a hospital in Columbia, Missouri, got married, started having kids, and then started wondering why I'm not back in Westport where my family was and my grandparents were and my brother and sister. And so I ended up, there weren't any flying jobs out here in Westport. So I ended up giving up flying and I moved home to sell real estate. I opened up a real estate office about 30 years ago. So I've been doing that ever since. And during that time, I stayed committed to my little community. I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce at one point. I've been on the Planning Commission. I've been on the Fire District Board. I'm currently the chair of the Grace Harbor County Board of Adjustment. So I've always participated as I could in my community. I voted for people at the state level and at the federal level, but I never really paid attention to what they did once they got in office. And in 2016, things got crazy enough that I raised my head from my little town and looked into things and actually got fairly disturbed at what I saw. There was a lot going on that I had no idea how representation was happening. And so I started actively participating at the state level, volunteering for a group called Fair Vote Washington that's been working on ranked choice voting, and also Whole Washington, which is working on universal health care at the state level. And those two volunteer efforts really saved my sanity because it took me to Olympia and to enough committee hearings and meetings where I could actually see Democrats and Republicans actually doing the job, working, trying to make things better. So it made me realize there is hope. Unfortunately, the people that we have in our district representing us weren't in that category. They're fairly right wing, very partisan in everything they do. The guy I'm running against is votes against everything. He blames King County, Seattle, urban Democrats for all our shortcomings out here on the coast, but he hasn't worked for our district, and so I decided to step up and challenge him this time.
And can you tell me a little bit about District 19?
Sure. It's the southwest Washington part of the state from Grays Harbor, which is the coast, down the coast all the way to the mouth of the Columbia River, and then over to a city named Longview, which is about an hour and a half inland, and then back up I-5, which is the main north-south freeway here in Washington, to Aberdeen near where I am. So it's about from here, I'm at the north end, and it's about a little over 2 hour drive to Longview when I go down there to meet people. That Longview represents, Cowlitz County represents probably about 60% of our voting population. So I've been down there a lot trying to get my name out. People know me here in the northern end of the district pretty well for my activities, but I've had to try to get exposure in the Cowlitz County area in hopes of winning this election.
All right, so you've been down there getting to know people. What are you hearing? What are the issues that people are talking about down there?
Well, they're ones I already knew. We're talking about them up here too. We're a rural economy, and so we're hugely dependent on fishing and farming and timber. And for decades, those resources have been heavily regulated, and it's limited economic opportunity in our communities. And so, with that limited economic opportunity comes declining health care, schools that are suffering, difficulty in just maintaining jobs. And so, the frustration in all of that is that our representative votes against all those things because he's not willing to vote yes on a Democratic supported bill. He's that partisan. And so he's hurt us in a lot of ways for that, but even more so because he has such a abrasive attack pattern against Democrats. He's alienated our district from the rest of the representatives, so we don't get the attention we should get because they don't want to benefit our district because that would benefit him, and he's been such a polarizing figure.
And he's been in for what you said for four
Four
terms,
terms,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
8 years, and that's about 6 terms too many. I mean, should have figured out. I mean, that he's been there. He's submitted 128 bills, and 2 have been passed into law
Oh,
because they're just frivolous things that he throws out, knowing they won't go anywhere. But it gives him a platform to talk about on his social media that he does all the time. It's crazy.
how are people still supporting him?
Unfortunately, they don't know any better. They don't get to hear the things he's not doing or doing. But he's now that he's the head of he got elected last year as state head of the Republican Party, and so he's in the paper all the time. So media is all around him. He can say whatever he wants. They don't print any kind of a letter to the editor that I've sent, even before I was running and was submitting letters countering some of the total BS that he was putting out in the paper. They it wouldn't get printed, and so people are hurting. They're looking for someone to blame. They hear his voice saying it's Seattle's fault, and I'm the only one standing up to him, and they just kept him in.
Do you feel like you're getting some traction with the counter argument?
I really do. It's just now a matter of exposure. I mean, everybody, I've had huge success. I've been knocking on doors up and down the district for a month and a half, 2 months now, and on the occasions that I come across people that think they support him, I continue the conversation with them and explain the realities of what's been going on. And without exception, I've converted them to voting, saying they'll vote for me. I mean, but I'm new at this. I'm not a politician, and so I don't have that name recognition. I've got billboards up in Longview. We've got postcards going out. I've got a radio campaign. I've got all things going on, which none of the people that ran against him in the past elections went to the extent. They were, in my opinion, they were kind of placeholders. No one was going to run against him. They didn't want to let him run unopposed, so they put somebody on the ballot, but they didn't go out and do the work that I've been doing.
What do you think are some things that starting a campaign on your own like this is tough. What do you think would have been a couple of things that maybe could have helped from a party standpoint to give you some support to get started?
Sure. Well, one of the biggest frustrations to me is I tend to make assumptions, and the Democratic Party at the state level really dislikes this guy. He's a problem. He's in their face all the time, and they really would like to see him gone. So I thought that would equate to support from the state party. Because I didn't engage in my campaign till the week before filing week, because I had to get some things out of the way before I could commit. Um, when the primary came out, it was just me and Jim in the primary. So top 2 would go on. I didn't have a chance of getting knocked out, but I got 41% of the vote, which is an improvement over the past campaigns that people had, but not much. And at the state level, the state party looked at that 41% and figured, no, it's a solid red district. We need to spend our money somewhere else. So I haven't received the financial support that I thought would be coming from the state level to get rid of this guy, because I also thought that if they supported my campaign in a way that helped me succeed, just the fact that I defeated the head of the state Republican Party would send kind of a shockwave through a system. I thought that would be worth them kicking in some money. But so I didn't get the financial support at the state level that I thought I should. The county level, the Cowlitz County Democrats have been hugely supportive and have funded my campaign to the best of their ability. And they've been helping me through a process that I'm unaware of how the process goes. So I've gotten good local support from the county parties. I just was frustrated that the state party didn't take my efforts more seriously.
All right, so we've come to the my last question, which is my favorite question. It's my I call it my softball question. I would like to know from you what part of District 19 do you consider most special to you?
Well, my email for work is Westport Mike. I mean, I'm from here. I moved home from here. I've done, it's Westport as a kid. I'm just turned 65. So in the 70s, my little town was known as the salmon fishing capital of the world. And every summer we had 5,000 people show up every day to go fishing, and it made our little town just bustle. I had summer jobs all through school. I just love this town. I love the beach. We have a beautiful beach. We got a marina. We have surfing. We have fishing. And I moved away when I joined the Army to fly helicopters. I left in the late 70s. And in the early 80s, salmon regulations cut fishing back. And we went from 300 charter boats to 30 charter boats. And we never bothered to tell people we had a beach or any other reason you might come to Westport, you come to fish. And so when I moved home in the 90s, and everybody in Western Washington had forgotten Westport even exists, I started a crusade to re-educate the population that how cool Westport is. And so that's why I committed 30 years of, at one point, just to advertise the town, I signed up for a radio station contest to live in a car in a mall to win the car. But I did it because I was on the radio constantly all day long and I could talk about Westport. And I ended up living in that car for 17 days talking
Oh,
about Westport. So I'd have to say for the district, I'm a Westport guy.
Mike Coverdale, the Westport guy, is running for the Washington House of Representatives in District 19. Thank you so much for being here and absolutely best of luck. I hope you make it. Thank you very much for being here today.
Can I plug the mike19.com website?
Of course.
Great.
Yeah,
So yeah, check out my website. Thanks for checking out my progress, and hopefully I'll be talking to you in a couple of weeks as a new representative for the 19th district.
absolutely. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks.